to my new fixed gear series, Fixed 411. I'm still going to be doing all my other cycling videos, but I wanted to start doing a regular feature on the fixed gear cycling that I do, which is mainly fixed gear crit racing. So stay tuned, and over the next few months I'm going to take you through the kind of thing that I'm doing to prepare for next year's fixed gear crits and give you some tips, give you a few insights into my life. Funny. I'm happy to answer any questions you've got about fixed gear bikes, not just fixed gear crit racing. I've been riding a fixed gear bike for about 10 years now. I used to be a bike messenger, I used to do fixed gear freestyle, you know, wheelies, bar spins, that kind of thing. So yeah, if you have any specific questions, fixed gear crit training or otherwise, leave them in the comments below. Anyway, to get back to what I was going to talk about, I race fixed gear crits, as I've just told you, and even though it's the middle of winter, even though it's December and extremely cold, those races are always on my mind. They're a constant in my life. So even though they might seem far away, I need to get prepared for that sort of thing right now. I've been riding on a lovely custom Hartley Cycles bike this past season, but I don't really want to ride that over winter because it's just going to get trashed. So first of all, I'm going to strip this bike and then I can start building my new one. It's probably pretty obvious that this isn't a great place to do any kind of mechanics, right next to my nice sofa, but we live in a tiny house and it's really dark in here because it's the middle of winter, so this was the best spot. Luckily, dismantling and putting together a fixed gear bike is really simple. You basically just need an Allen key, a chain whip, I guess, if you're going to change your rear sprocket, and I guess a pedal spanner to put your pedals on, but it's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go ahead and take this crank off. It's really easy. All you do is get a giant Allen key and then you turn it towards the front wheel, away from the back wheel. So go ahead and loosen that off. Pretty easy actually. I really need to not get oil on this side of the sofa. Dave's going to see this video and kill me. It's off. Now, one of the reasons I've left the bike with the wheels on is because I don't have a stand and it's really hard to work on the bike otherwise and get the crank off. So I am going to take the chain off here, but I'm leaving the wheels on because it just makes things easier. Now, there was me saying you don't need many tools and I keep running upstairs and getting more. I've got a rubber mallet so that I can tap the crank out. So now to remove the crank, I'm just going to go ahead and take off the bar and stem, seat and seat post. I don't know why I'm wearing a white t-shirt to do this, I'm already covered in grease. So I've got all the components off, let's talk parts. I've got SRAM Omnium crank. This is just really strong, really reliable. It's not cheap, but it's pretty good value, I would say. This will last like forever. I can't even remember when I got this. Did I have this as a messenger? I don't know. They're brilliant. I've got a factory 5 chainring on here, which I stole off Dave, because Dave rides for them. Lucky Dave. Then I've got Data Super Zero carbon seat post, just to keep things light. Obviously, this is a fixed gear crit racing bike. I want to keep things light as possible. And although I'm putting these parts on my winter build, that's just because I don't have loads of other parts. So, I mean, if I had cheaper parts, I'd put the cheaper parts on, but this is what I've got. This is a Specialized Power Turbo saddle, Power Expert saddle. I always forget the name, I always get it wrong. It's really short and wide at the back with a big cutout, so I find it really comfortable in the kind of races where you're going to be riding on the drops all the time, and you're pretty much only on the drops for fixed gear crits. Well, not pretty much, you're only on the drops. I've got a Data Superleggera stem and Cinelli Dynamo bars. So I really like the shape and sweep of these. They're quite shallow, they're quite narrow. I've got a 38, I think. When it comes to wheels, well, I was going to put on my Mavic Ellipse, which I've had sitting in the loft, and I thought they would be a good budget wheel set to train on if the weather's bad. But I just looked at them and the spokes have gone rusty, so I'm going to be speaking to Mavic about that because they're stainless steel. I thought stainless steel didn't rust. I'm going to use instead these, spin on these carbon wheels. Now you might think, carbon wheels on a winter training bike? But the thing is, on a fixed gear bike, you're not going to be, you've got no brakes, so you're not going to be damaging the braking surface. It's mainly the brake calipers on the rim that damage your wheels in the winter because there's so much dirt and grit. So seeing as I have no brake calipers on my fixed gear bike, nothing to rub against the rim, these should last okay. So here's the bike that I'm going to build up. It's a CAD 10 track, so it's a Cannondale track bike. It's aluminium, it's pretty light. It's a really good bike. I raced on it a couple of years ago. So I'm going to go ahead, put all the parts on, then take some measurements to adjust everything so it matches my old bike. So I'm going to need to put the wheels on first because it just makes it easier to work on the bike. So I need to get my gearing right before I do that. So many sprockets. So in the crit races that I do, I tend to race about 90 gear inches. It kind of depends on the course because if it's kind of tight and technical, I'm going to want a lighter gear so I can get out the corners, and if it's more fast and open like Red Hook Crit Milan, you might want to gear up. Well, you might just spend all day wondering whether to gear up and then not gear up, which is what I did at Red Hook Crit Milan. Anyway, in the winter, you don't want to just put on a really heavy gear and mash your legs week in, week out. In my opinion, there's a lot better things that you could be training, things that are going to make adaptations in your muscles that will improve your performance next year. I'll talk to you more about training in another video, but basically over the winter I like to break my training down into different blocks. And at the moment I'm doing a lot of high cadence stuff, working on pedaling finesse. I'm also doing a bit of sweet spot stuff, so high zone 3, not threshold. So I'm going to put my gearing at about 81 inches, which is a 48/16. So I'm going to sort out my wheel, get this bike standing up, then I can put the crank back on, get everything sorted and go for a ride. So I'm just going to put the crank in. It's really easy. It's exactly the same as what I did before but in reverse. So put it in like that and then get the other side. Make sure that you line it up, obviously. Your big Allen key and tighten it on. You want to go towards the back wheel. I actually forgot that I had a seat post on this bike, so I'm just going to put the saddle from the old one on there. I'm using these Speedplay pedals. There's a lot of float in these and that feels really good on my legs. Some people prefer to have their foot quite fixed if they've got specific issues with their knee. For my knees, I prefer to have a little bit of movement. I'm going to put the chain on now and get the chain tension right. You want to have a tiny bit of slack in a track chain. Doesn't want to be mega tight. So that's my bike all done. I'm going to check that everything's tight and make sure the saddle's straight, that kind of thing. Then I'm going to head down to Torbay Velo Park. It's a closed road bike circuit, so I can train down there. It's safe to ride without any brakes. And if you check back next episode, then I'll let you know what kind of training I'm doing over winter. I'm also going to reply to all your questions that you left for me on Instagram. And if you've got any more questions about riding fixed gear or fixed gear crits, please leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Bye!